Hello and welcome to another episode of Whose Turn Is It Anyway, a gaming podcast where you get to hear about our gaming shenanigans and opinions on games that we like and don't like. I'm Rob, I'm your first player. This is my last episode of being first player. Some of you will be glad to hear, some of you will be happy that JP will be our returning first player to take the reins of this sinking ship. And lead us back to dry land after my tenure as first player. I am joined by JP.
Hello.
Ian.
Hello.
And Big Chris.
Hello.
How you doing, guys?
Big Chris.
Is he Big Chris now?
Little Chris.
Is he?
There's
Okay,
a big Chris and Little Chris.
Okay.
We have to explain this actually for our listeners because they might get confused when we say it's Chris from the podcast. We've got two Chris's.
Yes.
Which is why you're saying Big Chris and
Big
Little
Chris.
But you're not pronouncing the K properly.
Yeah.
I'm not pronouncing it.
How do you pronounce your K? Is it Kris?
A bit like the monkey you were going to be talking about later.
Kris? But yes, we do have two Chris's, and in case that was confusing, check out our episode artwork because it's literally...
They are clearly two
You'll
different
be able
people.
to see that they're different people, yeah.
Yeah, one is at least 20 years younger than the other. At least, right, Big Chris?
Ouch.
But we'll let you guys look at the pictures and figure out which one's which. Don't want to ruin all your fun.
And who's better looking?
Welcome, guys. Thank you for joining.
Thanks for having us.
No worries at all. So this week's episode is mainly going to be featuring dexterity games, but first of all, we're going to get into Let's Talk About Hex, which is the kind of weekly roundup of what we've been playing and what we've been up to. So I will start with Ian, because I'd be shocked if you've played anything.
How rude. How very rude.
I mean, you've got him banged to rights normally.
I mean, you're not wrong, but I do actually have something else, because although in our Christmas episode I did mention about some games that we played at our little Christmas shindig, there was one that I didn't mention, and I don't think it's been talked about very much on the podcast before, which is Wavelength, which is a phenomenally fun game, great party game, brilliant to play with small groups and big groups. And yeah, we cracked that one out at the Christmas party, and there was much confusion, ahoy, which is generally what happens when you first play Wavelength, because it is a really simple concept, isn't it? But actually trying to explain it to people is really tough. Okay, so
Go on.
I must admit, I'm
Wavelength
still
comes with a device that allows you... See, I can't even explain it. You have to see the
wheel.
device. Yeah, there's a wheel that has coloured sections on the wheel in a certain segment. So as you spin the wheel around, this coloured segment is moving around. You can only see the top half of the wheel, so it's got like a 0 to 100 type range, but it's half a circle. The person whose turn it is spins the wheel without looking at it, so that that coloured segment ends up in a certain position. So it'll be somewhere at random. So it'll be somewhere all the way from the left to all the way to the right in this semicircle. They then look at it to see where it is, and they are the only person who knows where the coloured segment is. Mm-hmm. Then they hide it again, so that the other players can't see where the coloured segment is, and there is a card with two opposites on it, effectively. So you might have a card that says very hot or very cold, and those are the two extremes. And basically, the player who's playing has to state a word or a thing that represents where on the wheel the coloured section is in terms of whatever the card says. So if it was very cold, very hot, all the way to the left would be very cold, all the way to the right would be very hot, and if it was somewhere in the middle, then they might say something like, I don't know, a sofa. Maybe that's something. That's a really bad example.
Yeah. These were the examples that were given.
Yeah,
that's why.
And that's what happens in Wavelength. People come up with really, really bad words.
Yeah.
And then basically the team has to guess where they think the coloured segment is, and then the opposing team can decide if they think it's higher or lower.
Yeah, it's like
there's
dial,
points.
and there's a dial that you're moving to try and get the ideally the exact position of this coloured segment.
And then after everyone's guessed, you reveal it and basically find out whether people were right, and there's points and prizes and fun times are had.
Usually laughter and
lots of abuse.
Lots of abuse.
Yeah, lots of arguments about what are you talking about.
Yes.
How on earth could you think that's there on that scale?
The most basic concept of Wavelength actually is when the card says, like your example, coldest to the left, hottest to the right, is getting them the wrong way round.
Yeah,
which
that
happened
happens
3 times.
pretty much every round.
I did it
Yeah.
twice.
Yeah.
It's like, oh no, I've done it the wrong way. And that's probably because we keep turning the device to show to other people.
Yeah.
I'm just getting confused.
I think there is. Eventually, we did work out the best way is to leave the device in the box with the card in front of it, and then just turn the box towards people to avoid confusion. But yeah, it's a really fun game, and yeah, especially if people have had a few drinks, then the confusion levels can get very high.
So in the game group, we've all played a lot of games with each other. We know each other quite well, and we still managed to make a complete hash of this game. Like where Curly's got a cat, and he had 2 options: cat, dog. We were arguing.
Dog person.
We were arguing that he was more of a dog person, even though he has a cat.
That blew my mind because Curly has been talking about how much he loves dogs.
Yes,
and I think he got ready for this game months, if not years in advance, planting seeds of doubt in our mind.
Did he see the deck of cards?
He told me he loved Poppy, the puppy, and it was just
that's just classic Curly, isn't it? He's playing the long game.
Yeah.
He's been, he's known that this game was coming out for years, and he's just planted those seeds of confusion.
It's February the 2nd. He's thinking, got Wavelength. I'm going to bust that out at Christmas.
I think he literally said he hated cats to me. So whether he just tells people what he wants to hear, I don't know.
but it was confusing.
I mean, I wish that was the most confusing thing that happened during that game of Wavelength, but it was far from
my
it.
favourite bit was, and he knows what's coming. That's why he's saying, "Oh God!" My favourite whole card was the light side of the Force and the dark side of the Force.
Mace Windu.
I put Mace Windu because he's the leader of the Jedi Order.
And I think it broke everyone. That one.
Yeah,
there was
argument.
some lively discussion about exactly
we're all nerds.
Exactly how evil or good Mace Windu is.
Yeah.
It was interesting.
It was a fun.
But
I'm
his
not a
lightsaber's
massive.
purple and it's got diffused with the dark side of the kyber crystal.
And all of that was coming out. It's brilliant.
I mean, I don't want to reopen old wounds, but he's not completely good, right?
No, but the dial wasn't completely good.
Okay.
It was it was like 90% good.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's why, because if I'd have said
about right.
if I'd have said Yoda, everyone would have gone straight to 100%.
Yeah.
And so every answer was Mace Windu.
Would
from
Han
that.
Solo have been a better answer?
No,
Is he
he's a
100%
He's
good?
a rogue. No, he's not.
Well, there you go. So he would have been.
He's not a drug dealer. He's a smuggler.
Yeah, he smuggles spice.
You getting confused with
He's
Dune?
a smuggler.
Oh, it's a drug smuggler. I mean, he's a lovable one.
Not to be
We're
confused with
splitting
the-
hairs now between drug dealer and drug smuggler. It's all in the same industry.
Yeah, it's fine. Yeah, but he's so lovable. He gets away with it.
Yeah, that's true.
And he shot first. Anyway. We're going down a little bit
Yes.
sidetrack, aren't we?
Yeah. And Chris, what have you been up to, mate? What sort of games have you managed to get to the table?
I've not played any board games, although I am going balls deep into researching TI because I've got my first proper game.
Oh,
I'm so excited for you.
it's
You're
almost
preparing.
it's almost like you're a full grown up once you play TI.
In our
You're a real
WhatsApp
boy.
in our WhatsApp group the other day, you just posted an excerpt from the rules, and your comment was just something like, "What the actual hell?" I think it was the
what the
turn.
fuck is this?
Yeah, it was the turn order or something, and you were like, "You what?"
that might have been my first day of going because I can't retain the information for long periods, so I have to time it to be taking it in
just before you
a
play.
week or so before we play,
Yeah.
and then I can't do it fully, so then I have to refresher a day or two before as well. So it's my life is TI at the minute. I'm watching YouTube videos every day.
So your game that you've managed to get to the table is research for the game that you're about to get to the table.
correct.
So it's a game in itself.
It's how things take over my life.
the true metagame.
Yeah.
Preparing
I have
for the
been
game.
Playing the game is 10% off the game.
No, because we've got our it's like a post-Christmas game.
Yeah, it's clicking now.
Yeah.
Obviously, I haven't played. So I have played once before, but about at least 5 years ago.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
I can't remember that.
The good thing about TI is it'll take so long to play that you'll have time during the game to refresh your memory on the rules. Like in a normal board game, if you spent 20 minutes looking over the rules, that'd be quite disruptive and rude.
Yeah.
In TI, that's just par for the course.
Yeah.
Just like while someone else is taking
could
their
pop to
turn,
the
you
shops.
just peruse the rules.
Or go to the shops.
Yeah.
Bake a cake, maybe.
Take a shower.
That's why I don't like
You could watch
looking at the
Anchorman. When it's JP's turn, you go watch Anchorman.
Yeah. By the time you
I
finish.
get the impression of just it's quick fire around. Keep going
Yeah, it's
around
basically
until
a
you
party
pass
game,
and
mate.
stuff.
Yeah, you'll be fine. 8 hours later, you'll be alright.
Yeah, that is the one concern. Yeah, how long it goes on for.
That's, well, TI 4th edition. It's a bit slightly quicker than third, but it does depend. We only play to 10 points for that reason. If you play to 14, it's like you might as well throw another 2 or 3 hours on.
How many players have you got?
6.
Five.
Was it 5? No, it's 5. So I think we've probably done 6-7 hours.
We've got 2 newbies, including myself.
Yeah, well, you played once, they've played once.
If I brought my Xbox round
Yeah.
and plugged it in and said to Amy that I'm playing a 7-hour board game, can I just sit and play my Xbox for 7 hours?
Sure. Well, forget,
I think that's the only way I'd get.
It's a pretty good strategy.
It's
That's
good,
not bad, is it?
But you recorded this, and if she listens to it,
She don't listen to
she's
this.
not going to listen to it. Amy, if you're listening, ignore everything
I
said.
was going to say,
you're
go
not
on,
listening.
slag her off a bit more then if she doesn't listen.
I'm not slagging her
Go-
off.
go
I just
full
said
on,
I'd
go
get
full
away with playing 7 hours of Xbox. It'd be great.
You do anyway.
JP, what long list of games have you managed to get to the board?
Nicely diverted.
Thank you.
I've had a few, but the one I'm going to focus on is actually last night's game, which was Lorenzo Il Magnifico.
I've heard a lot about this game. I saw
Good
some
game.
comments about it on Board Game Trading UK.
Yeah, it's an older game actually. I think came out around 2014, 2015 maybe. Probably even older than that. But
Well,
People
was that
shouting
noise?
at their phones now. It's 2013, JP, you idiot.
But no, it's it's a game set in Renaissance Italy. Everyone get excited. Ooh. And essentially it's a worker placement game, but it's got kind of a unique kind of engine building, card taking twist to it. So essentially you've got 4 towers on the board. You've got the green tower, which is territories. You've got the blue tower, which is characters. You've got yellows, which are buildings, and you've got purples, which are called ventures, which are like endgame scoring. And the whole premise is that you've got 4 family members. 3 of them you like, and you've got this like the poor cousin that no one likes, who's like a wood.
True to life, then.
Yeah. You've got, let's say you're the red player, which I predominantly am the red player. You've got 3 of your kind of workers that are red, and then you've got one that's kind of wooden colour with a red sticker on the top with a 0 on. And essentially you have 3 dice on the board that you roll every round, and those dice determine like the power level of your workers. So you've got like a black, white and orange dice. If everyone rolls, well, when those dice are rolled and you get crap numbers, everyone's workers are crap and have low power levels. If you get high loaded numbers, then everyone goes, yay, we can do lots of things. And the idea is that you spend servants, which is like a resource, spending servants to kind of power up your
Wow,
workers.
it's true to the Renaissance
yeah,
era.
absolutely,
Super progressive and modern
It's
this.
proper great. And you can power them up to then go to certain action spaces. So like the base level, you'll see like dice values on the worker placement spots of 1. So your workers need to be at least level 1. Some of them then like 3, 5, 7. So you need to power them up to get to those high spaces. And your poor cousin that no one likes is a value 0 always. So he always needs to be chaperoned by the servants to actually be useful and do anything. But he's quite flexible. So yeah, you kind of go around, you acquire the different cards, you're kind of building your tableau of different cards that do different things, and you'll have like the green cards or for harvesting resources, which you can run the kind of entire production chain, and the yellow cards are like buildings, which will do a lot of your conversions and victory point scoring and things like that. And it gets just a very midway kind of meaty Euro game.
I was gonna say I need to play this one again because I've played
You
this,
played it
right?
before, yeah.
And everything you've just said sounded foreign to me, so I
Yeah,
I
it's not
clearly
been
need to
retained.
play it again.
Yeah, it's a classic. It's good fun, and yeah,
It's reviewed very well, isn't it? It's very
Yeah.
well respected in
Yeah.
the community.
I like it a lot. And although I will say that last night's game was shocking for me, to the point I think I scored my worst score ever, like embarrassingly bad.
Is it your game?
It's my game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think actually Davey said that we have to mention specifically how it went for
Yeah.
you.
'Cause
He
I'm
was
not
very
supposed-
clear about that.
Yeah, I'm not supposed to be on this episode, and I was keeping the bench warm, and Davey can't make it, so and he was basically going to mention how shit I did at this game last night. So
we were all going to rip into you, but now you're here, we're being...
Well, you can
It's a
still
bit
do
more
it, but-
awkward.
Yeah, but I'm going to get in front of it.
Fair enough.
I'm going to own it.
Fair enough.
As Ian said.
Fair enough.
Own it. It's my mistake. I cocked
But
up.
that's the thing, though. Sometimes when you play these games, you play amazingly,
Oh, it's ridiculous.
and then other times you're terrible. Sometimes you're the hammer, sometimes you're the nail, aren't you? It's just the way it is. And games like that are almost quite refreshing because of that can happen.
Yeah.
Is it going to happen to Curly one day?
One day.
Because I'm
mean,
kind of
miracles-
waiting for that.
Miracles do happen. I mean, you
Well, it did
know.
happen in viticulture, didn't it, that time?
Yeah, I'm sure if he was here, he'd point out, oh, I don't win all the time.
I'm sure he would. I'm sure he'd be wrong as well. But you know, no, it's nice. It's refreshing that because like I'm very much a novice in gaming. You are very knowledgeable. You read rule books.
I love rule books. Yeah.
So the fact that you've done terribly at a game isn't a downside on you. It's quite refreshing for the
thing
rest
is,
of the
no,
group.
I know
Like,
this
cocktail.
feeling as well of being highly experienced at something, but still not being highly proficient at it. These are two different things, right? You could play games all day long, all day, every day. It doesn't magically make you win.
No.
Hell.
JP's like, I wish it did though.
I wish it did. If it's based on the number of plays, I'd be so good.
Oh, you'd be the absolute goat.
The thing is, as well, though, did you have a good time?
Yeah, it was a good laugh. I had my brother down, which was nice to see him because he doesn't live close.
No.
To be fair, he was doing his present drop, so he just combined it with the game. So it was nice to see him. But yeah, no, it was a good game, good fun. It's nice to get that to the table.
Think you don't have to win it to have a good time.
No,
Exactly.
exactly. There's a lot of piss taken, so it's fine.
Fair
Standard.
Thank God you don't need to win to have a good time.
Yeah, exactly.
There'll be very few players
Otherwise,
in
I'll
our
take-
gaming group.
I'll be taking up knitting as a hobby. This will be the knitting podcast.
Or certain players will be banned from attending.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, how about you?
So I've got a public disclaimer. We're recording this before Christmas, and it is being
Oh, you
released
ruined the magic.
in the new year.
Yeah.
So my wife this year has done like a family advent calendar with activities for us all to do together, and she put in board game night. So
Nice. Can you tell my wife to do this?
if your wife does this, there is no way board game night is going in there as an option.
She actively avoids
Thing is-
board game.
No,
night.
it'll be solo board game night just for JP. The rest of the family can watch telly.
Yeah.
You've given her an idea now.
I mean, that's what happens most nights anyway, right, JP?
But I got home from work at 6:30, only to be informed that it's board game night at 7.
Oh.
So of course had no game prepared, kind of knew nothing about it. But I bought Zuuli at GridCon,
Yes.
and it was still in its wrapper because we still haven't got it out. So I thought it's a brilliant little game that my 8-year-old can play.
Yeah,
It's simple enough that she can understand it with a bit of help.
Yeah.
So we cracked that open for the first time and had a really good time.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah,
Good ammo.
my wife didn't realise it was 3 rounds, so when she saw 0 on the first round, she got quite irate. And then when she
No.
realised we were going again, it was like, oh, cool. And like everybody did really well. Everyone got the hang of it.
Could be worse. My first round of Zuuli, I got a negative. Score.
You shouldn't get negatives in the rules.
Oh, shouldn't I?
No.
Well, I need to take that up with Becky.
Sorry,
maybe
sorry.
I got.
No, the more shocking thing is that you've read the rules.
Yeah.
I had to because
That's the more shocking thing.
Amy was asking me so many questions about the cards that I couldn't blag it. So I had to read the rule.
Luckily, it's a sheet.
But when you say rule book,
Yeah,
it is a sheet.
pamphlet.
I can read
Yeah.
that. That's fine. So yeah, we managed to play Zuuli. Not being funny, but I won, which was, the way it
Rematch,
goes.
come on.
Um,
And I bet all your family were like, "Oh yeah, but you play board games all the time."
no, they were
course
like,
you
"You've
won."
played this game before," and I was like, "Yeah, that's kind of a big, a
Oh,
big
you had
advantage."
played it, even though your copy was shrink wrapped.
Yeah,
but
no, we
you'd
played it at
before.
GridCon.
Ah, okay.
And it's a wonderful game. My daughter loved the artwork. Kind of trying to figure out what animal goes in. I know obviously a fish goes in water, but when you've got a crocodile that can go in 2 different habitats and try.
It's really good with how it's all thematic like that,
Yeah,
isn't it? The
yeah.
animals do fit the types,
Yeah.
and like the fierce animals generally are like predators, and vice versa.
Yeah, and it
So
was
it's
it was
nice.
really good, and we got to play with the expansion as well. So there's a lot of different animals in there, a lot of different cards, which was nice. And we had a great time. And the best thing about that game, we had it done in 45 minutes.
Yeah,
and that was from the teach to finish.
So you could get straight onto the Xbox.
No. we watched Love Actually, which was I love that movie at Christmas. So it was a case of get them to bed so we can watch the movie before we fall asleep on the sofa because it's too late because we've got children and it gets to about 10 o'clock and it's a little bit dicey whether we're going to get to the end of the movie or not. So we had to get it on. But no, we had a great time playing that, and I mean I picked that up for £12.
Yeah,
at Great Con, and it was absolutely great. Like wonderful, fun family game. So, yeah, that's what I've been up to. And that brings us up to this week's segment, Dexterity Games. A little bit different from the usual board game, but games that are enough of them out there now, and they're very wide-ranging in their sort of sets and abilities and everything else. Obviously, we've got Ian with us, who's an avid dexterity gamer.
Yeah, I do enjoy a dexterity
Has
game.
been known.
Finally, we got an episode he's excited to jump on about.
I'm always excited to be honest.
You love dexterity.
I do love a dexterity game.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, we may have an upcoming episode on a game that I really, really love as well, but we won't. We'll tease that later.
Oh,
but dexterity games, yeah, definitely big part.
Now, my first sort of major sort of go at a dexterity game was actually at the UK Board Games Expo, where me and you sat down for a game of Carooka.
Yes, yeah, which is something that I'd had my eye on, and since you've actually bought a board, which we still need to get together and play that.
We really do.
I've been terrible at actually getting around to organising that with you.
But
Carooka is phenomenal.
But I loved it, absolutely loved it, and we've talked about Carooka before, so I'm not going to hash it. It's basically snooker.
What is it? No. What is it? What is Carooka?
It's snooker snooker or pool.
Yeah.
On a round board with pockets dotted all the way around it. And it's sat on a lazy Susan. So rather than having to get up and physically walk around the table, you literally spin the board.
And instead of balls, circular discs.
Yes.
And instead of a cue, your finger.
You use your finger.
It's a flicking game.
Simple enough that everyone can get into it. And I've told this story on the podcast before, but not long after I got the board, I got home from work and found my mum playing it with my 8-year-old daughter.
Brilliant.
And we've had loads of games with people who have come round, and everybody knows pool. I'm not a particular sort of snooker fan, so we tend to play the pool variant more than anything else, mainly because the scoring and I don't know what
it's more straightforward.
I don't know what colour orders to go for. So we play them a lot, and again, you I would say you can knock out a game in about 10 minutes, but it does depend on skill level.
Yeah.
So.
Definitely at the expo, me and you had a few. It's more the end game, wasn't it? It was like early game. There's enough discs on the board that it's like, well, if you just hit it hard enough, something's going to go in. But it's when you're chasing those last couple of reds around the board, and it's like, come on, we really should be able to pot one of these.
And there's 8 people behind us waiting to play. We're like, we're really sorry. So no, I mean, just from that one playthrough, I ordered a board.
Yeah, I remember me and you sat outside at the expo, basically pricing it up and saying, well, one of us is going to buy this.
It's going to happen.
So, and I was like, I'm happy to buy it. If you don't, you're like, I kind of want to buy it.
Yeah, it was such enjoyment. And they're such a lovely couple that have designed this game.
Oh, yeah.
It's all done out of their workshop.
Yeah, they're all handmade, right? To order.
Handmade boards. All the equipment is handmade, and they were a lovely, lovely couple, very patient with 2 idiots.
Yeah. They were very good at the teach. They had the teach down.
Yeah.
Obviously, they've been doing this a while. But it was lovely to have them show us the game.
And if anybody wants to check out this game, it's Carooka.com, I believe.
We'll put it in the show notes.
Yeah, put it in the show notes, And just a wonderful game made by a couple of wonderful people. So
100%.
But that was my first foray into it. And then that kind of later on the next day, we had the UK Crokinole Championships. Mm-hmm. Which I didn't take part of, but you 3 did. Kris, you came up especially for it.
Yeah.
I'm going to like this.
And we'll let you guess at home how things went.
Is it 8? Yeah, this is a long story from my point of view.
Please tell it.
Well, it started before COVID when Ian brought his Crokinole board around and we all got excited about it. And then you said you were going to start a competition at the Birmingham NC, and but the numbers that were involved in our group going there's a high chance that one of us could have won it, or at least got high up in it. So that planted a seed in my head. So I went out and bought a board, and then like 2 years later, because of COVID and stuff, was still waiting for this tournament and stuff.
Yeah,
and I've invested a lot of time.
Yeah, so you've had 2 years to practice.
Yeah, well, it's just
that's a good point here.
Yeah, but I haven't actually admitted to this to anyone yet, but I didn't actually clean my board on that day. So the board that we played on the first day was absolutely shocking. and every time I got on that board, I was so ashamed of it.
Did you start slagging it off like, oh, whose board's this?
Yeah,
It's terrible.
But it was just like, it just totally stymied my whole plans because JP beat me in the first game.
I think that set you on a downward spiral, didn't it? Because it is me. He's probably played what, 3 times? Maybe
Well,
I think 3 nights.
But yeah.
Yeah,
a handful of times.
Played more than 3 games, but I've had like 3, maybe 4 nights of Crokinole experience, and I did not expect to do like I expect to get knocked out. I was there just for making up numbers.
Yeah.
Right?
But it was that one victory between you and me. If I'd won that one, then I'd been in the same position as you.
Yeah, I think you would have done. Yeah.
So, which would have been what made my day worthwhile.
Oh, mate.
Not that Kris has been like
I'm not
fixating
bit-
on this since then or
Not
anything.
bitter at all.
No,
But we
But
have
did you have fun? No.
no, I didn't.
He drove for 3.5 hours to play in a tournament that he didn't enjoy.
And 3.5 hours home.
Because you did.
I imagine the drive home was even less fun.
I also, it wasn't solely for that trip, but I'd actually bought the car as well, so I could go up easier rather than in my van.
So there was an investment.
Yeah, there's investment.
I'm starting to wish I hadn't organised this tournament now. I feel like I've ruined Kris's life.
I think you just ruined his day.
Yeah.
Alright, I can live with that.
Maybe just the day.
I can live with that.
That's fine. Yeah.
But because I didn't play in the tournament, because I was watching you guys and kind of doing
you
my
were
own
scared,
thing.
yeah.
I'd never played Crokinole before. The first time I play it isn't going to be in the UK
If there'd
Championships.
been a Carooka tournament, you would have been all over it.
Yeah.
And you only played that the day of.
Yeah, that's true. But still, the amount of people that came up to me, because we all had our hoodies on,
Yeah.
so the amount of people that came up to me and was like, what is this?
What, the hoodies or?
Yeah, no, the game. We did it like the world's shittest motorbike game.
But we rocked it. We do rock them.
Yeah.
The least threatening gang of all time.
Yeah. You got any board games, mate? Do you want some?
Just open a trench coat. There's just TI4 hanging in there.
And its expansions.
You want some too many bones, mate?
But the amount of people that came up and were asking about the game, what was going on, what the game is.
Yeah, I mean, Crokinole's one of those great games that, a lot like Carooka, it's a conversation starter. If you just go and sit somewhere with a Crokinole board, or you take Carooka to a pub and just sit there, random people will just come up and start asking you, what is this?
Yeah.
Because it's just so intriguing. Like, we don't see many dexterity games, really, out in the wild. And we certainly don't see many, like, free-form kind of flicking disc-type games. Like, you know, if you ask people to name a dexterity disc game, they'll start thinking of things like Tiddlywinks.
Yes,
or
that's the one that comes to
yeah,
mind.
you know, like, these are not usual games for us, certainly in this country. I mean, if you live in a certain region of Ontario, then Crokinole will be a lot more familiar to you. But over here, it's still relatively unknown. But yeah, just the board and the presence and the nature of the game, you know, it makes sound. There's stuff happening all the time. It's very visceral and engaging. Yeah, it just draws people in. And that's definitely what happened at the UKGE, is just that the fact people were playing just attracted other people, even though we were hidden away in a kind of dark and dank corner of the NEC.
Hall 2 in the corner, weren't we?
Yeah, like sort of our own little special area of the tournament zone, away from everyone else.
I was going to say, we were next to the bring and buy, so we could always hear Becky.
Yes, yeah, we could hear her wallet,
Looting.
being depleted. But no, it was really good, and yeah, just the passing traffic, like you said, Rob. Like, people just, and when the tournament was over, or as we were getting to the later stages, and there were fewer boards in use, obviously we could then just open it up to random people who wanted to give it a go, and lots of people did. And that's the great thing about not just Crokinole, but so many of these dexterity games, is that they're so simple and quick to learn. You just show someone, and within 5 minutes they're playing, and it's just so easy to get people hooked. It's a real easy sell.
What's the elevated pitch then for Crokinole?
So
For those that are thinking, what the hell is this?
yeah,
thing?
so Crokinole is a originally Canadian originated game back in the, I think, 1800s. The earliest references to it. In fact, it was a quiz question in our Christmas quiz.
We all know
so,
the answer now.
Yeah, we do all know the answer. Basically, it's a dexterity game played on a circular wooden board with 3 concentric circles that are used as scoring areas. There's a ditch around the outside, so the board has an edge. Discs can go off the board into that ditch, and they're out of play. And you basically flick these small discs, buttons, pucks, biscuits. They've got a lot of different names. Cookies, even, instead of biscuits.
Oh, really?
Why am I getting hungry?
Yeah.
It's Christmas.
Where's the biscuits at? It's not catered for us. And it's interesting the way that Shut Up and Sit Down described it when they did a video about Crokinole, which is actually one of the things that got me into it, and a lot of people in this country into it, was the video that Shut Up and Sit Down did. Quinn's described it as an area control game, which actually, at its heart, it is. Each round of Crokinole, you're trying to end up with more of your discs in higher scoring areas of the board than your opponent. And so in that way, it kind of is an area control game. You're trying to flick other people's discs off the board with your disc to then, basically steal that area from them. But it's a super simple game. There's a hole in the middle of the board that's if the disc goes in that hole, then it's worth 20 points and it's removed off the board, and then all the different areas score different amounts. And that in itself would be a very simple and straightforward game. And then they decided to put some pegs around the centre circle of these 3 concentric circles.
Pegs.
So these kind of half-inch tall rubber coated pegs that your discs will bounce off of and inevitably end up in a ditch, or certainly not where you wanted them to end up. That's basically what makes the game, is the pegs, and the fact that it makes it so much more difficult to execute the shots that you're trying to make.
But I was looking at the board and I was like, I should be able to get it through there every time. I took 10 shots. I think I got it through twice.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it was like, again, like it looked so simple.
Yeah.
But obviously it took, there is a massive skill element to it. After watching, is it Brian, the world champion?
Yeah, Brian Cook, who won the tournament, and is an ex-world champion as well.
He was an absolute machine.
He's
a
a
robot.
beast. He is a beast. I mean, this is a guy who grew up in Canada.
Oh, absolutely.
Like,
Because I was talking to him and I said, like, how long have you been playing? He was like, since I was about 4 years old. And he said, I've played this a lot.
Yeah.
But again, it was something that looked doable. And I think when I look at a Mind Clash game, like a board,
going on the other end of the spectrum. Yeah.
like a board, and I'm just like, my eyes hurt.
You're just lost instantly.
Yeah, my eyes are hurt, but I can see the goal. I can see the plan.
Yeah. To me, it's like a lot of other skill games like snooker or darts or things like that, throwing games with accuracy, accuracy games. It's that everyone can see what you're trying to do and how to do it. It's, can you execute the thing that you're trying to do
at precision?
Like everyone understands how to throw a 20 in darts. Like you throw the dart and it goes in the 20. It's a very simple process, right?
No,
but actually doing doing it is almost impossible. It's the same in Crokinole. You can be like, okay, I just need to shoot an open 20 here, and it's like everyone who's played Crokinole probably at some point has scored an open 20. We all know how to do it.
Feels good.
But can you do it under pressure when you really need to? When you've just made a mistake that might have cost you the game if you don't make the 20. There's like all of these additional factors that make it very interesting. But yeah, it's one of those games that's a minute to learn, a lifetime to master.
So I think the advantage of dexterity games is the majority of people can play the majority of the games.
Yeah, they're very accessible, right?
So there's a huge dexterity game that probably every boy has played that was born before the 90s.
Sexist.
Ageist.
I say that because it was a huge thing, especially at my school. None of us could play it, but we all knew how to play it. But none of us could do all the skill shots that were in the activity. That were in the advert.
Conkers, right?
No, Subbuteo.
Subbuteo.
Oh yeah, I had Subbuteo.
Yeah, and that's why I was saying that I
think most people who've played Subbuteo don't know how to play Subbuteo.
The fun,
you know what I mean?
the fun part was collecting the
Yeah.
team and the
You,
ball
like,
and the cup and the.
put them out on the pitch and like their line up and have the crowd and
And put it away, yeah.
I don't think I ever
I never
played a game
no.
of Subbuteo. I don't know what the rules are
No.
or how it works.
But it's football, right? Everybody
Yeah.
knows what football.
But I
is.
know that I had a little guy on a spring that you could use for throw-ins, and that was a lot of fun.
That was cool.
Yeah.
So the other day, I don't know why it came up, but it was in maybe my search things for eBay. You can get streakers for Subbuteo.
Brilliant.
Streaking.
Have they got little dome
Just
bottoms
yeah,
as well?
just
Not bottoms,
little
but you know
naked
what I
person.
And
mean.
you flick them across the
And they just wobble around.
Could you imagine at a tournament, a Subbuteo tournament, and some asshole flicks a
Flicks a
streaker on? That is brilliant. But it kind of got me thinking about how accessible this stuff is. And again, simple game in theory, but no.
We think. I mean, none of us actually know the rules
Exactly.
of Subbuteo, but
Exactly.
it's probably simple.
flick a dude
Exactly.
at the ball.
So
get in
that
the
that
goal.
was my first experience of a dexterity game without even kind of realizing it, because at the time it was that and Hero Quest. That was kind of the
That
only
was the board gaming.
that
hobby
was
at
it.
that point.
Obviously, just to show how much it's kind of expanded. We Tambo had a birthday barbecue a few years ago, and
Yeah,
Davey was like, "We've got to play this game. We've got to play this game."
Oh yeah.
And then he started setting up miniature forts and like a miniature town.
a western.
Yeah. And it was Flick 'em Up.
Yeah.
Have you ever played this, Chris?
I think I've heard of
It's
it.
a Western themed
Shootout.
shootout,
Yeah.
basically,
But
where
it all revolves around flicking. You flick pieces
bullets.
around. Yeah.
and you flick the shooters around and the bullets
Mm.
around, and the amount of fun we had playing that game. Admittedly, we were a few beers deep by this point.
Yeah. We definitely might have screwed up some of the rules, and there was definitely some ganging up that happened.
Oh, 100%.
I remember
Some bullets lost in the
there were
garden as
definitely
well.
some
but-
bullets
yes.
that went off the table. Yeah.
But what a fun game.
It was great.
And you need no space to play it, basically, a table,
Yeah.
because you could just shorten the distance.
That's it.
between...
You could make the layout smaller if you needed to. Yeah.
And that was my kind of first, dexterity game. If that I was aware that it was a dexterity game, because again, it looks so simple, and you're lining your shots up and you're flicking, and then it just goes completely the wrong way. You end up shooting your teammate or whatever.
Yeah.
It was brilliant. And we had such a blast playing it, and I don't think it's an expensive game.
I can't remember. I don't know if it's cheap because it's
There's a lot of
wooden
pieces
bits.
to it.
There was a lot of wooden bits.
I don't think it's massively expensive.
No, and what a fun game to have a barbecue. So dexterity games kind of have a theme with us when we seem to get together, because in the summer when we met up to play Game of Thrones a few years ago, Kris turned around to us, big Kris, and said, "Let's go and play Kubb."
Done that a few times, haven't we?
Now I thought he was hitting on me, but it turns out I was wrong, because there is a garden game.
It doesn't have to be a garden. It could be anywhere.
It could be indoors, but I wouldn't recommend it.
Not near anything breakable.
Exactly. This is the game that you decided to play in -5 weather.
Yeah.
And it's been around for quite some time, is to be fair.
I've not boned up on the history of it.
You told me it was Viking
You said
chess.
Viking.
I know that it's referred to as Viking chess in some parts of the world as well, but
And you made your own part. You made the parts for this game, basically.
essentially it's just bits of wood that you stand up and you chuck bit sticks at.
Aren't essentially most things just bits of wood? Couldn't you say that
Yeah,
about? It's like,
but they haven't.
I hear you make tables. Well, it's really just bits of
Well,
wood.
some of these bits of wood are literally cut off stair banisters.
Well, that's true.
I've repurposed. I'm all about recycling
Yeah.
and saving the planet.
Upcycling.
But
Some of them are also decorated.
Now,
they've got characters on them and stuff. Star Wars characters even.
Absolutely.
Now, I know nothing about this game other than I was told that we all stand in a line.
Yeah.
We throw bits of wood at the targets to knock them over. But at the end, it's a bit of a free-for-all, and we go for the one in the middle.
It's a game of skill
Until
the
violence.
last and violence, and then to the last few seconds where it just turns into total random chaos and mayhem and total luck.
So, I mean, is it? You could tell me the rules now, just so that I'm aware.
I'll give you an
I'm a bit
analogy
vague.
because I think I've got a good analogy for this. So we talked about darts earlier. Imagine darts played exactly as it's played now,
Turn based.
but
Yeah.
when one player gets close enough to 0, everyone in the audience starts throwing darts and they all count. That's basically what Kubb is.
Yeah. And it was a great game. I think we played 3 or 4 games that day, and it was brilliant.
So
we had such a good laugh playing it.
It's an all round. I mean, anyone could. I mean, kids have played it since they were little, and they know what to do, and they've become a dead eye shot with it as well. And anyone, you can just play one game, and you've got everything. And it's just you can get personal, take out people's shins, just psych them out. Mind
but
games
again,
and
it's
stuff.
very accessible, isn't it? Like most dexterity games, if you can stand up, and
You wouldn't even need to stand up.
Not necessarily, but as long as you can throw a cut off bit of a banister underarm
At a target.
about 6 feet.
Well,
to 8
you
feet.
say that. I do have to repeat the underarm rule to lots of people because they start.
No helicopters, is it?
Yeah, no helicopters or rotating it or
overarm.
throwing overarm.
No cricket bowling,
Not until the final round, anyway,
No,
where it's
exactly.
all free for all.
or just when Kris isn't looking.
He's always looking.
Always watching. Always watching.
But no, and again, like it's something that I'd never heard of, and just randomly. And when everyone got really excited to go and play Kubb, I was like, "Cool, let's do this." And then when I got told watch your shins, and saw how fast these things fly through the air in the final round, I was like, "I like it." I'm a little bit scared, but I like it.
There's an element of real danger to it, so it just gives an edge to it.
You don't get that in a dungeon crawler, do you?
It's a high octane, intense game.
I mean, the most amount of danger we get from some of our board games is getting a paper cut.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or accidentally spilling a drink on JP's table.
That's danger.
Well, I mean, then he'll just murder you.
Yeah.
So that's
So, but no, again, just another example of a dexterity game. Very simple premise, very easy to play, very hard to get good at. And like you said, your kids have been playing it since they were young. They're really good at it. And us a few beers deep in, just trying to hit each other. Come the end of it,
It just numbs the pain.
it was a great experience. And
Why do
again,
so many of our descriptions of games involve, but a few beers deep? Why is that always a qualifier for us? We always have to...
because I think it gave everybody license to kind of go a little bit off beat with it. I think it was, well, if you're a little bit numb anyway, what's the harm?
Exactly. That's it. I mean, you'll feel your shins in the morning, but that's tomorrow's problem.
Yeah.
Exactly. And when we got to sit down and start this, JP mentioned another game, another Scandinavian game that I knew nothing about.
Yeah.
I'm going to let him pronounce it because
I'd rather you try.
I'm good.
Are you
I'm
good?
good. Yep. You did the research. So
I'm going to butcher the name, but I think it's like Mölkky or something like that.
what was it?
Mölkky?
I just wanted you to say it again.
One more time?
Mölkky is what I'm going to call
Mölkky,
it. From
okay.
now on. Yeah.
Molkky,
Something like
I
that.
believe.
Yeah. So it's similar to Kubb, except you've got 12 kind of cylinder, wooden, stakey bits that are all clustered together, and you have this other piece of wood that you literally lob at the cylinders with the numbers on.
So it's kind of like bowls with upright
That's right.
sticks.
And the goal of the game is that you need to score exactly 50.
What
Exactly.
if we can't count to 50?
Then don't play the game, or get someone else to score.
Then you go and play Kubb instead
fair
and
enough.
just engage in violence.
So you're kind of chucking the stick, you're hitting 1, 2, 5, whatever over, and I think there might be a rule if you knock them all over, then it cancels a score, something like that. I don't know the rules, so too well. I've only played it like
You
once.
heard it here first, people.
Yeah, exactly. I did not read the rule book.
If you go over 50, you bust. I think
Yeah,
you have
that's
to start
right.
again.
So and when you knock these kind of wooden pieces over, they naturally and gradually get further and further and further apart. So then strategically, because then when you reset them, you stand them back up.
Oh,
again.
okay. So they start all clustered
Yeah.
together, and then when they're knocked over,
Then
you stand them back up where they land.
Yeah.
I see.
So then you're going, right, as you get closer to 50, you know that you're going to need maybe a 7 or a 5.
So you might try and work that one out onto its
But
own.
it's a race. So you're racing the other players. So you might be thinking, how can I take 3 of these wooden pieces out and get, I don't know, 15 points?
So is it turn-based then?
Yeah.
Okay, but you're both playing with the same set of targets.
Same board state, as it were. Yeah.
Okay, but taking turns, not real time.
Yeah, correct.
Okay.
So you're kind of working through, taking turns, and obviously it's a race to exactly 50. And if you do go over 50, as Kris said, you bust, and then, I don't know if you reset to 25?
I'm not sure.
Something like that.
It seems like it'd be harsh to reset to
Yeah,
0.
you reset and then you got to go back up, and obviously, do you take the risks of trying to get 3, knock down 3 at a time to get the perfect score? knowing that you might knock 5 down and go over
Yeah.
and bust. So yeah, it's an interesting, fun lawn game. You can pick up on Amazon for like, I don't know, a tenner, or
You can make
you
it.
can make it like Kris out of stair banisters and God knows what else.
Slightly linked to that and games we haven't mentioned yet, but I've got a game called Cornhole, which is
Cornhole's a great game.
Is that the beanbag one?
it's the beanbag one from
And
America.
again, in the States,
And
they take that
I've
really
seen that
seriously.
has world championships.
Yeah.
isn't it, and stuff.
Yeah, there's
it's
kids
just lobbing a.
I've not heard of this one.
Have you not?
Cornhole's massive. I think in the States, like cornhole is quite a big like collegiate competition. Like
Yeah.
different colleges like compete against each other and stuff, don't they? Not quite to the extent of like football and baseball.
From what I've seen, there's like a 10-foot gap between you and the board. Is that 10 foot?
Something like that, maybe a little bit more.
There is
It
a-
seemed
a-
quite
a-
far away.
A certain, it's a defined space
Yeah,
between the
set
two.
distance.
You stand next to your little ramp with a hole in it, and you lob your beans into the
other
opposing team's things. If you go through the hole, you get 3 points.
Yeah,
If it stays on the board, you get 1 point. And
doesn't slide off basically.
Yeah.
So you
it's-
can knock previous attempts into the hole,
Yeah,
can't you?
you
So
can.
if you come up short and then your next one knocks it in the hole, then it's still worth 3, which is pretty cool.
So it's on like a wedge-shaped board.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's like slanted towards you as
Yes.
you're throwing at it. Yeah.
So yeah, I've only ever seen videos of guys just like bang, bang, bang,
Yeah.
just launch him straight for the hole, and you're like, what the hell? Kid's 8.
Yeah.
Like,
And I think that the distance they stand back in, like, you know, regulation cornhole setups is quite far. Like,
It is.
It looks like a pretty significant distance.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I could have any chance of hitting the hole even with a few attempts
Oh,
probably
God,
from
no.
that distance.
especially.
Again, my daughters are quite good at it. We've hit upon a theme here because Kubb is just bits of wood, so I've made my own set, which is themed Star Wars, Lego Star Wars.
Cool.
So
Of course.
just to make it more fun, I made a cornhole set out using my sign making skills and furnished that with Muppet.
Is it basically the Muppet's mouth that you throw?
Essentially, yeah. I think Gonzo at one end, I think Fozzie is at the other end, and
Waka waka waka.
and yeah, I've made Mocky.
I want to play it more now.
Yeah.
I really want to play it more.
Muppet's corner.
Well, maybe when it's a little bit warmer.
Yeah, that's it. In the summer, we'll have to book another. We'll do a barbecue
lawn
at your
game.
place or something. We'll just
Yeah.
have all day lawn games.
Sounds
yeah.
great.
Or we could play Battlestar Galactica because we did that outside at barbecue, didn't we? That was the infamous Battlestar game.
Yeah. He's already exposed himself on that one.
Has that been revealed?
That's
Yeah,
been
it's,
revealed.
it's no longer
Yeah.
the fishing
That was
trip.
like
no.
that. No, that was like the fishing trip is not Captain Sonar.
So we all know what happened to Captain Sonar. You just lost your shit.
I think it is Captain Sonar, the fishing trip, isn't it?
Oh, no, it's just BSG. The original fishing trip mentioned.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah.
But in
Yeah,
terms
so
of things
what?
that we don't bring up, yeah, probably Captain Sonar's up there.
Yeah.
Hang my head in shame.
It's alright.
We'll get you to play it again one day. You'll enjoy it.
No, I won't. So moving away from sort of garden games where you're throwing stuff at targets or people, whichever you feel like, yeah. You bought a game on holiday with us, JP, when we went to France,
Yes.
and I watched you and Joshua play it,
Yeah.
and we kind of said, we'll play this one day, and we never actually
Still
got around to
haven't-
it.
No, still haven't got it. No.
But Joshua, I know Joshua, your son, loves it,
Yep.
and I know you really enjoy it, and that is FlickFleet.
Yeah.
Obviously, we've talked about this on the
Yeah.
the
We,
podcast with the creators and everything else. But again, simple.
Well, there's-
I say simple as in it's simple to play the game.
yeah.
Yeah, conceptually it's simple, isn't it?
But to
They're
play it
ships and
well-
flicking stuff at each other, but,
But
there's more
hard.
to it than
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
So essentially, I was actually editing the episode that we have in our back catalogue that Ian and Davey did when they interviewed Jack and Paul from Eurydice Games, which was a great episode to kind of explain how Eurydice Games kind of created FlickFleet.
So interesting.
like this-
what those guys went through and like how they, you know,
I don't think I require a tenth of the dedication that would be needed.
No,
for
yeah.
that.
just wild. Like
Amazing.
You know, the procuring that laser cutter and then the way that Paul like puts together every set by hand and that whole process, absolutely fascinating to me.
Yeah.
But the amount of work is unbelievable.
and their dedication to gamers and getting their product out to gamers, all done in the UK. Obviously, probably not the most cheapest way of doing these things, but they are so passionate about their product and the game and the design and kind of getting that
Paul
little box.
Paul has
fun.
to be because his house is full of stock.
Full of acrylic. Full of acrylic
It's either
sheets.
full of acrylic
Yeah.
or boxed up games ready to go.
So I was editing the episode and I kind of got intrigued about the game. So naturally, I'm looking up the game whilst finishing the editing, and I thought, oh, this looks actually a lot of fun. And I thought, you know what, I'll just pick a copy of it up. And me and Josh played like game after game after game. I think it was about 3 weeks we were playing, maybe every night after you come back from school, because it plays really quick. But anyway, FlickFleet is essentially spaceships battling each other on the table, and you can essentially basically flick the ships to move them.
Hang on.
It's not X-Wing.
I was about to say it's basically X-Wing, but
No.
JP likes it.
No, it's better than X-Wing, because one, you can flick the ships.
You can still fly into stuff though.
You can, but it's less of that kind of rules of, oh no, you can't do anything if you hit stuff. No, whatever. So you just damage the ships. No, I can take that. But yeah, you can flick the ships. Every ship has like an edge that you can flick from, essentially where their engines are. So if you're trying to pull like a 90-degree right kind of turn, you kind of got to flick.
I mean,
it's a bit
in
weird.
FlickFleet, if you're trying to pull a 90-degree
No.
right turn, you're being too brave.
No,
You're
spinning
hoping
them.
for too much.
Yeah, the ship's spinning all
You're
over
going to
the
spin
place.
off into space.
So you kind of manoeuvring your kind of ships around, and depending on the ships, you know, you've got one side is basically like the Empire in Star Wars. They've got the big dreadnoughts and the big beefy ships, but you have less of them because all like done on a point system. So you can have so many points, but they've got to be balanced
It's
between
a bit
both
like,
teams. Bit like
X-Wing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And then you got like the rebels who have got the smaller ships, but more kind of diversity and flexibility and doing stuff. But it's quite basic in compared to X-Wing. And it's so much
We
better.
need to start filming these podcasts because you can literally see the rage building in JP.
I hate X-Wing. You know I do. So and essentially when you're firing at the other ships, you typically are using like a D10 dice to literally flick from the ships. You put the dice on the ship. I want to hit the other ship. I've got to flick this dice and hit the ship physically on the table, which
And what the dice lands on also affects the outcome as well.
yeah, once the shields are gone, then the numerical value of the dice will depend on what systems the ship starts to fail in. So every ship has these coloured discs on there. Some are the engines, some are like shield generators, some are weapon systems and all this kind of thing. And if you get the right shot and you can hit it and land it on the right number, you're like, just disable the weapons, yeah! But flicking that bloody D10 in a straight line,
Oh, it's impossible.
it's nuts. And when you execute that shot, it's fantastic.
With a D10, it felt like it was almost always like a curve shot. Because
Yeah.
of the shape of a D10, you're like, right, I'm going to put it on its side, because it's effectively kind of like a rugby ball.
Yeah.
It'd be like trying to kick a rugby ball along the ground.
Yes,
Which,
exactly
which
like that.
international players can
do. So if you're very good,
But for
you
mere
can do
mortals,
it,
it's
but-
not impossible.
Yeah.
But
But no,
he's-
me and Davey played a few games, and we got to a point where we felt not proficient, but competent with flicking a D10, to the point where we had some chance. But it's a lot of fun. Like, when you start, you are just flicking dice off the table, left, right, and centre. And
Yeah.
I sent one of my ships into the abyss as well, because if you leave the game area, then
gone.
it's just gone.
Run off.
That's actually what happens in X-Wing, isn't it? If you go off the edge of the board, okay.
Yeah. That never happened to me. That wasn't the problem.
Well, no, you never got to move far enough to go off the edge of the board, did you?
Crashed into asteroids every time you
No,
tried to turn.
my own ships.
No, he crashed into himself.
ships,
That's the beauty of it.
My own ships. But no, it's a fun game. I've actually backed the Xeno Wars expansion because it makes it 4-player. Because it's only a 2-player game.
Yeah.
And I like the idea that it can be a 4-player game because I think as a night, like a game night, it's quite a relaxing game night, very chilled. And just having 4 teams on the mat at once.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
With
And
your
adds,
alien races.
yeah, it adds a
and
bunch
stuff.
more factions and abilities and stuff.
Anybody else got any others that they'd like to talk about?
I wanted to give an honourable mention to Ice Cool. I don't know if anyone's
Penguin
ever played
flicking?
Ice Cool,
No, yeah,
which
go
is
for it.
penguin flicking.
Yeah, do it.
Brilliant game. So much fun. Basically, the board is made up of several rooms that have physical vertical walls coming up out of the board, and you flick heavily weighted Subbuteo-esque penguins around trying to collect all the fish. But the beauty is, because of the way they're weighted in the base, like Subbuteo players, you can do all sorts of cool little tricks with these penguins. So you can kind of bend them around a corner. If you flick them on the side, they'll sort of spiral and then curve around, which is sort of cool. So you can sort of try and go through this door and then round there and back through another door. If you're very skilled, which I'm not, you can actually jump them over the walls as well by like flicking the top and getting it to hit the floor and propel itself up. Very difficult. It's like trying to do like an ollie on a skateboard. It's like feels almost impossible if you can't already do it. And I just love it.
We're all over those movements.
We've got the ollies down here, don't worry. Yeah.
Sorry, okay. Kickflips then, if you're a bit more advanced. You can't really do a pop shove it with a penguin. But yeah, it's a lot of fun, and I always have to mention it just because a friend of mine that I play Netrunner with once qualified at the UK Games Expo for the European Championship of Ice Cool. They had just a walk-up tournament which he played and promptly won. And there's now a video on the internet of him in, I forget which Scandinavian country, but playing in the European Championships of Ice Cool.
That's amazing.
Which is very funny.
So another game that we kind of just sort of thought about was a game called Klask, which I saw set up at your house on our gaming night out. And it's a game that I've seen online. I've seen people playing it on Facebook.
Again, I think there's World Championships.
Yeah, and I've seen some guys playing it.
I have watched the World Championship of Klask.
Of course
it's quite
you
entertaining.
have. Of course you have. But obviously, as you're the only person that owns this,
I own it.
Oh, do you?
I've got it as well.
Oh, I didn't.
Three of us.
You're the only one who doesn't own it.
Have I never played this game then?
I'll bring it round when we next have our night with the ladies.
New Year's Eve. We can do it on New Year's Eve.
I'll bring it because you'll love it.
Cool.
Yeah.
But I thought Kris can, because yours is the only house that I've seen it in then.
Yeah.
Kris, do you want to tell us a little bit about Klask? Because obviously it's been around for a while as well, I believe.
Well, I don't know much about it, to be honest. But I bought it because I saw it and it looked fantastic. And it is just knocking things around, which is my bag. Sort of chucking.
So
the magnets.
Is there a magnet underneath?
Yeah.
There's underneath which you control the top magnet. So you're trying to hit the ball around to get into the opponent's
It's like
goal.
air hockey.
It's a bit like that, yeah. But there's little random magnets that are placed on the board too.
Biscuits.
So you're not allowed to get them attached to your little man or whatever he is.
Okay.
Little dongle thing, whatever it is. Yeah.
Well, I think the running joke is that everything in Klask is called a Klask. So I think the little man is a Klask. I think the hole that you tried to score in is a Klask. I think the ball as well is technically a Klask.
Don't get your Klask to get the Klask in the Klask.
So I read the instructions the other day for the Christmas party just to remind myself, and it's named Klask because of the noise the magnets make, I think.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
When you separate them and put them back together again, that's the noise, and that's why it's called Klask.
Because I looked at it and I was like, well, foosball's changed. Because it is a little square
the two-player game
board, isn't it? So and I've seen, like I said, I've seen people play it on Facebook, and these things flash up and you feel, that looks quite interesting.
Yeah.
But yours is the only place that I've seen it, so that's why
it's just quick, fun. If I can't remember how much points you go to, but
it's like 6 for a normal
points.
game.
Yeah.
I mean, a point could take 5 seconds or 30 seconds. It's if you're really good or really bad, I suppose it could take a couple of minutes for a point, but
it's fast.
Yeah, you can play a whole game in just a few minutes, just like Crokinole.
Yeah,
similar thing.
Yeah.
Awesome. So we've covered quite a few dexterity-based games. I'm sure there are thousands more out there. But again, accessible to everyone. Easy to play, difficult to master. I think that's kind of fair across all the games that we've sort of discussed. So if any of them take your fancy, guys, get out, play them, give them a go, and
let us know in the comments as well if there's a particular dexterity game we didn't mention.
Because there
definitely will be
that we should try.
But if you think there's one that we should try based on what we already like, then let us know.
We'd love to hit us up. So next up, it's time to answer our question that's been emailed from Paul Richards. Emailed directly to us, and I'll go through our handles in a minute if you guys want to get your questions in. So please feel free to get in touch. And the question is, what's your best board game bargain?
Good
So
question.
obviously, I've seen so many posts on Facebook saying pick this up in a charity shop for a £5.
Oh, yeah.
It's like original unopened Hero Quest,
I saw-
£2.50.
I saw literally, I think it was yesterday, someone got Battlestar Galactica in shrink for 20 quid from a
moly.
charity shop.
And I bet the charity shop thought they were taking the piss as well.
Yeah.
Because anything being 20 quid in a charity shop is expensive.
I was like,
right?
what? 20 quid in shrink?
But is
What does that go for on eBay? 400? 500?
I don't know. Maybe not that much. The expansions will, but not
But in
probably
shrink?
base. But yeah, in shrink.
Blimey.
I mean, what I don't know is whether the charity shop put it in shrink.
They've probably got a shrink wrapping machine if they're smart.
And it had half the components missing.
Or,
Who knows?
Or was in Spanish, or had
Yeah.
too many Cylons. Kris.
In which case, it's still worth more than 20 quid.
Still.
Yeah, true.
So, you know.
So yeah, obviously you've seen a lot of people posting stuff and
Yep.
things like that. So Ian, what's your best board game bargain?
So I think for me, actually, and I know you guys did an episode recently about collectible card games and trading card games, living card games, stuff like that. It's the only game that I'm ahead in financially. So very much the opposite of Too Many Bones for you, JP, if you can imagine.
No.
And that's Keyforge. So when Keyforge came out, I was very interested by the idea. I liked Netrunner, I liked Fantasy Flight and everything, and Richard Garfield, and everything about it seemed like, oh, this could be really good. So I picked up a few decks and we played a bit, and it was okay. I enjoyed it well enough. But then I bought a deck, and it turned out to be one of the most powerful decks out there. It was what's called a Four Horsemen deck that had these particular Four Horsemen cards that kept recurring themselves, and it also had this time travel card as well that effectively recurred your entire deck. It was just basically a bonkers combo deck. And so when I opened it, I was recognized that oh, this is a really good deck. And then I looked into it online. I was like, no, this is a really, really good deck. So I sold it on eBay and got 250 quid for it.
And how much did the original pack cost?
So I think Keyforge decks were 13 quid.
I think they
Or
were
12 quid.
I thought they were lower than that.
Or a tenner.
8, 9 quid or something.
Around that, anyway. Around that kind of £8 to £12.
So that is a bargain because you're up.
Yeah, and I think even if I take into account the stack of other decks that I bought that weren't worth selling, I still came out ahead. So my biggest bargain was Keyforge, because I basically got paid to play Keyforge.
You're a professional.
Not very much.
Do you class yourself as a professional then?
Well, I don't like to brag, but I'm kind of a big deal.
Isn't that true?
It's a good
Kris
bargain.
won't get the reference because he still needs to watch Anchorman. But...
Yeah. Sort it out, Kris.
Kris, what about yourself, mate? What board game have you picked up fairly cheaply that's turned out to be...
Well, it depends on how you value it. So it's not about cheap. It's how many times I've played it, really, because it's down to kittens. It's exploding kittens for me.
Yeah.
I'm getting a withering look here from
No.
JP.
I don't mind exploding kittens. It's Curdy that hates it, not
But-
me.
I've played. I've got a base pack originally, and then I bought 2 packs.
Streaking kittens.
Yeah, so you just
Exploding kittens.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
but I've played it for years, and it's a great party game.
Yeah.
You can pick it up. I played it last weekend with 13 of us around the table, and it was just mayhem and fun.
So you've gone for how many... You've gone for price over time.
Yeah,
Price
basically.
per play.
Price per play.
Yeah.
Which is how JP's going to try and justify Too Many
I
Bones
think
as his answer.
He shot me out of the water with that because his game cost 15 quid.
But he hasn't played it as much as you've played Too Many
I
Bones.
don't know, he might have. Yeah.
I mean, the first original pack has just worn away just from the amount of fingers that have played it.
acid.
Yeah. But also there was a bargain that I got 20 Subbuteo streakers.
I think you created those.
No, I literally did see it.
Is this your design thing that you're trying to push secretly?
It's a PR exercise,
Yeah,
isn't it?
before the day of 3D printers as well. You had to have handcrafted those streakers yourself.
Filth.
Whittle them away.
If anybody does have them and find out that they are slightly different, we know that they've been made by Kris.
Yeah.
So awesome. JP, what's your best
I-
bargain?
I was dreading this question.
Nothing JP buys is a bargain. That's the problem.
I can't think of anything that's
that I got on the cheap or
Because
I
you
bought as a
decide
bargain.
because you decide to get it from Kickstarter directly.
A lot of them have come from that route, so that means that nothing's a bargain.
I mean, at this point, you must be getting a good deal on Kallax. Like, you're buying those in bulk, right?
Yeah.
Do you have like a subscription with IKEA where they just like send you a Kallax every month?
They've got a little sensor in them, so when they get full, they just send me another one. But every time I try and look for a game, it's always either out of freaking print or it's just a sought-after game that no one ever wants to sell. So it's kind of like I just don't seem to find them. Now, if you had Adrian on the podcast, it'd be different because he can sniff out a lot. He's like a little piggy, and the truffles, getting the board game truffles.
Mate, if you're looking for a bargain, I've got some X-Wing stuff I can sell you.
Yeah.
It may be the same X-Wing stuff that you sold me, but I'll do you a good deal.
I think that is a bargain, considering that, okay, I've sold it for a lot less than I bought it for, but then I don't have X-Wing in my life. So
you'd be willing to pay £100 just not to
Yeah.
have to play X-Wing
yeah,
again.
it's fine. I'll give you it if you asked. But you wanted to give me money, I don't know.
On a similar vein, my best board game bargain actually come from JP.
Yeah, as always, I pay full price.
That's it.
Yeah.
JP buys it at retail and then we get the bargains
Well,
a year later.
This kind of happened twice. So the first one I'm going to mention, it was a lot of money, but compared to the Kickstarter edition, which it was Zombicide.
Yeah.
So you know, base game and 2 expansions.
Yeah, it was 2 campaign expansions.
Exactly, and we were looking at the UK Game Expo. I was looking at the prices, and I think the expansions were on there for about 40-50 quid each.
Yeah, one of them is really hard to get. It might be even a bit more.
So yeah, I mean, I bought that all off you for what, 100 quid?
A ton, yeah.
Which again, not cheap, but for me the best one. And to be honest, this is more like a dealer giving somebody a cheap hit
the first
to
is free.
reel them in, and it was Descent.
Yeah.
The second edition. You weren't playing it. We played it with the girls once, didn't we?
Yeah.
And they got bored, and then they went and watched something on TV.
No, they went to play Mario Kart.
That's correct.
Because that just I'd come out, or I just got the Switch.
Yes.
Or something like that. They just wanted to play
so
Mario
You
Kart.
just bought a Switch and you tried to get them to play
I know,
Descent instead.
It really didn't work. Don't know why.
Millie loved it though,
Yeah.
but the first because you played them in 2 parts, so you did the first part and you did the second part, and the first part I think took quite a bit longer than expected.
Yeah.
So when they said, right, let's time for the second part of this, they were like, nah, we're playing Mario Kart. So you weren't playing it, and you realised how much we loved it. So I think I bought a few for about 40 quid.
Yeah.
I think, and of course that then led me down the rabbit hole.
You're welcome.
And here I am today.
Yeah.
So for me, I will quite happily take JP's Unwanted Games at bargain prices from now until the end of time.
Yeah.
Well, at the end of the day, we've all got our own different stories about how this is all JP's fault anyway, right?
Yeah.
When he lured us all into the hobby one way or the other. With me, it was Netrunner. With you,
I just
it was
find the
Descent.
perfect games for you.
Yeah.
That's all it is. Like, right, for you.
He is a facilitator, isn't
Oh
he?
yeah, like he's a master. Yeah, master groomer. He knows exactly how to draw us in.
That is not a title you want, but it's one you got regardless.
It's the one I'm getting.
Yeah.
Thank guys.
So thank you very much for the question.
Yeah, cheers, Paul.
Thanks, Paul.
So yeah, I've met Paul at GridCon 2.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, great to get your question in, Paul. Appreciate it.
So please keep them coming, guys.
Yeah.
And now it's time for our penultimate term, where we kind of look forward to the gaming adventures yet to come. So Kris, I'm going to start with you on this one. What are you looking forward to coming up, mate?
Like we mentioned, I think we mentioned at the start of the podcast that I'm homing in on TI, but also got a game of Scythe in early February.
And
Seems a long way off, but I'm actually looking forward to it.
And JP is very happy that I have not put my name down for it.
Oh yeah.
You love Scythe, don't you? You really enjoy
Gone
it.
deep inside.
Well, I did, and now I've put it to one side, and I've been just focusing on each new challenge that comes, sort of thing. So,
Nice.
Feels like maybe you can't look beyond TI at this
Yeah,
point.
I've
Like,
got to
you
focus
you
on
need to
TI.
focus on that.
It's going to be, I'm going to be getting the 2 sets of rules confused.
You have leveled up with Scythe though. Like when we played last, and I was like, shit. Like you just like stepped up. Because I think you just play so much of it, like solo. You've been going deep on the solo, haven't you?
Yeah,
The,
I'm playing with the app and stuff and
Ultimate.
the thing. But I spent years just turning up to places to play games for fun. Apparently, that's not what you do. you got to learn the rules.
No, you don't. They're more like guideline books than actual rules.
I'd say I can validate. You don't have to learn the rules. You can just
It's just a whole different
you can just keep
experience.
trying to do things, and JP will keep shouting at you when it's not allowed.
Oh, thanks, guys.
Of course, yeah, I'm staying well away from that, but I hope you guys have a wonderful time. Ian, what are you looking forward to, mate?
So I this is the part of the podcast where I defend myself about the games that I've not arranged to play. I did try to sign up for a game with the group, but unfortunately I signed up and then immediately noticed it was on a day that me, Kris and Becky are already going to Wales to play Crokinole. So I am looking forward to going and playing Crokinole. It's not a game with the group, but it is with people from the group. So that'll be fun. We've got a little Steve Burrows. He's set up a little tournament at his home and he's got a few teams turning up. So we're going to go and represent whose turn is it anyway?
Nice.
And yeah, bring home the glory.
Do you have to wear our hoodies?
Of course we have to wear our
Yeah,
absolutely.
I expect full.
And I'll be
PR,
getting
social
masks
media.
made of each other's faces so that we can all cosplay as each other.
Right, okay.
I mean, whatever floats your boat.
Yeah,
They're
yeah.
not there.
Fair enough.
Keeps me interested.
Yeah.
So I look forward to that. Me and JP have got an episode record coming up in January for Netrunner, which is
He's teasing everyone. Teasing.
just dropping these reveal bombs left, right, and centre. But yeah, obviously, as we've discussed before, I'm a big Netrunner fan, which is all JP's fault. So he also has to be on the episode. So I'm looking forward to recording that. Maybe we'll try and play some Netrunner before then.
We'll try.
That'd be a good idea if we can.
We'll try, but we have played enough of it to know enough about the game and stuff. But
Give or take.
No, I'm looking forward to that.
Awesome. JP, what have you got planned, mate?
So obviously we've got Christmas coming up. Twilight Imperium, as Kris had said. Big Chris, not little Chris.
Big Chris.
Big Chris, little Chris.
I can only hear it in a London accent from Lockstock. Little Chris.
Little Chris. No, yeah, I mean the fact that Twilight Imperium gets played 4 times a year at best.
There's only so many hours in the year.
I was going to
though,
say,
you know what I mean?
You're pushing the limits.
It's always nice just to get that in the calendar. So I'm looking forward to that and all the shenanigans that will ensue with that game, with political bartering and basically killing other people's spaceships for 7 hours.
Backstabbing and shithousery.
Oh, yeah, all that kind of stuff. But I'm actually looking forward to returning to the good ship ISS Vanguard, which I am
I really want to play this game.
thoroughly enjoying right now. I think it's like our 4th mission. And I think my favourite moment in this game, without spoiling it, because if anyone is playing it, I don't want to spoil anything, because it's one of those kind of campaign games that, you know, it's very narrative driven and we want people to experience it. But we had a situation on the planet, and this planet was like overridden with like kind of, I don't know, wildlifey, got bugs and plants that basically try to kill you. And Curly's crewmate, and he's like chief of science, right? So Curly's crew member was in a spot of bother. And we had to basically get everyone back to the ship so that we could take off and get back to the space station. But unfortunately, Curly's character was not going to be able to make it. So we had to make the decision to leave a good man behind, which he was not happy about.
Why are you smiling?
Is this where Curly was like, guys, I'm not going to make it, go on without me? And you're like, yeah, okay, fine. See you later.
This is, we really think you need to stay, otherwise we're all going to fail the mission. And he was like, but I don't want to make my character die. So he had this really selfish look of, how can we why don't we all die together, guys? It's like, no,
if I'm going to die, we might as well all die.
Might as well fail the mission and redo it so that we all go, no, we just, you just die. We'll remember you. You did well. Brilliant. I mean, basically, it's not like he dies. It's one of his crew out of his section dies.
That sounds like every game of Gloomhaven I ever played, right?
Yeah.
I just ended up dying for the greater good.
No, you ended up going and opening all the doors.
One time that happened, and yes, it was catastrophic, but only one time did I open all the doors, and that's because it was my personal mission.
And it was funny. But yeah, so that was kind of our defining moment, our little story of
Amir, I think is his name, his crew member,
Man left behind.
who sacrificed his life for the greater good of the mission and
begrudgingly sacrificed his life.
But Curly, we thank you. So yeah, but I look forward to it. It's just great fun to.
Everything anyone said about this game, it sounds right on my street.
Yeah, it's like Mass Effect / XCOM. So
I really
like
like
those,
pretty good combo.
If you like those kinds of games, it's well over your street.
I really want to play it.
Yeah, I'm sure I'll probably go through it again once we're done. I don't actually know how big it is as a campaign game. I'm hoping that's not too big. You know, some of these can be like, yes, you'll play 50 games. Like, I don't want to play 50 games. I mean, it's good, but
it's not too many bones.
Am I going to get to the end of it? I don't know, but I'm enjoying it so far. I'm just looking forward to jumping back in. So we got a couple of nights on that at some point over Christmas.
Man.
Yeah, that's me.
To be honest, I'm just looking forward to having a bit of a break at Christmas.
Yeah, I think everyone's in that boat.
Yeah, and I've asked for a game for Christmas. Hopefully it comes.
Ooh, what are you getting? What are you getting?
Journeys Through Middle-earth.
Nice.
So, again, Hobbit Descent-ish game.
Well,
it's more like Hobbit Mansions of Madness. But speaking of mansions, we've got a game booked in. It's the first time I've played it in a couple of years.
Yeah, you'll enjoy it.
And it's one of those games that I forget. I know I love it, but I forget how much I love it until I sit down and play it. And I think it's your first time playing it, Chris?
Yeah.
I think you really enjoy it, mate. It's really, really good. One and done episodic, but like episode
self-contained episodes.
Yeah, self-contained episodes. So obviously, you know, there is a story element to it, but obviously it doesn't lead anywhere else, which actually is quite nice.
Yeah.
The fact that you can just pick up a random.
So there's
scenario.
like narrative context, but you don't have to feel invested. It's not like a Gloomhaven where it's like it matters what you did last week.
No, standalone episode.
Yeah, so I think I really enjoy it. I'm really, really looking forward to playing that. So yeah, hopefully we'll have a blast and hopefully we'll make it through. I think I've only won one scenario, so some of them are nails. But no, it should be good fun.
Good stuff.
Sweet.
So it's that time where we total up victory points and we decide that JP lost horrifically
Again.
Yeah.
But you know, some of us are just here to happy to take part.
I'm going to say I probably was a close second to last though.
Wow,
You didn't show up.
Yeah. I messaged you half an hour before and said, "Oh, sorry, mate, I can't make it."
Thank you very much for joining me, guys. Obviously, your knowledge of dexterity games is far superior to my own. And it'd be a pretty boring podcast if it was me talking about dexterity games that I've played, because, well, to be fair, it would have been a couple of minutes long. So, you know,
fair enough.
You know, plus, you know, some people view that as a positive, others negative. But no, thank you very much for joining me, guys.
And thank you for filling that first player.
Yeah,
seat.
That's all
It's,
good.
Last
you know,
four.
heavy as the crown and all that.
I'm just relieved it's over. To be honest, JP will attest that my, you know, my organisational skills are lacking, shall we say? Trying to get 4 people on a date where everyone's available when I can barely tell when I'm available has been the biggest challenge.
But also, JP has high standards. The project manager in him is, you know, the pedantry is strong.
It's
this
very
one.
No,
strong.
to be fair, it kept me on task. But no, thank you very much. I've actually really enjoyed being first player.
Good.
Because we talked about all the subjects that I wanted to talk about.
But that's it. That's the bonus of being first player, is that you can be selfish and go, I want to talk about these things. You guys never talk about this stuff.
But no, thank you very much, and thank you for all your support. It's been good fun. It's been a good laugh, so thank you very
Rob.
much.
Yeah, no trouble.
If anybody listening would like to contact us, we have quite a few ways of doing that. You can email us directly, which is players@whoseturn.co.uk. We're on Facebook, Whose Turn Is It Anyway Podcast. Instagram is @whoseTurnPodcast. And TikTok is @Whose Turn Is It Anyway. And please don't forget, we are listed on Board Game Geek. So please go there to check us out and officially join our cult.
Right.
So thank you very much for joining us. And whose turn is it anyway?
It's my turn.
Dun, dun, dun.